Today we're here at Reverend Guitars. They're one of the hottest guitar companies in the world, and they're right here in Toledo, Ohio. Let's go inside and take a look. Reverend is celebrating the 20th anniversary. They were founded back in 1997 by Mr. Joe Naylor. More about him later. I had a chance to catch up with my old buddy Ken, the owner and CEO of the company, and find out how he got involved with Reverend. Turns out the love affair started a while back at a guitar shop in Detroit, Michigan.
And there was a Reverend hanging on the wall, and I'd never seen one before. So I grabbed it, I played it, I fell in love with it. It said East Point, Michigan right on the headstock. And I was like, that's right over there.
So Ken made his way over to Joe's shop. Soon after, they became great friends. Eventually, Ken even tagged along with Joe to some guitar shows. That's when things started to happen.
And I went to a trade show with Joe and sold 400 guitars. And so Joe said, well, that's it. I'm bringing you to every single one of these from now on. And I finally was able to work for Reverend full time. So I became the sales director of the company in 2006.
So Ken was full time with Reverend, but him and his wife had bigger plans. And in 2010, Ken and his wife Penny straight up bought the company from Joe Naylor.
Penny and I bought the company from him to free him up to design guitars full time. And now he works for us designing guitars, and he works with artists to get things done. And Penny and I run the show.
Reverends have a specific look that draws people to them all the time.
You don't look at them and think, whoa, that's like some crazy thing, and it's got all these crazy angles, and it's got some weird thing. You kind of look at it, and it's got a timeless look to it, but at the same time, it's its own design.
With Reverend's cool style and great tone, it didn't take long before some local rockers started to take notice.
Joe Naylor did Naylor amplification in the early 90s. And a lot of prominent local guys got into Naylors, including Ron Asheton when he was playing with Destroy All Monsters. And Ron fell in love with the Naylor amp so hard that it was anything that this guy does is golden. When Joe started doing Reverends, Ron had to have a Reverend. So, I mean, we had Ron Asheton right out of the gate.
Landing the legendary guitar player from the Stooges and Destroy All Monsters to your roster is pretty impressive. But some other local kids were paying attention too.
Before Joe founded Reverend, in between sort of during and in between Naylor amps and Reverend guitars, Joe had a little guitar repair shop in what was then East Detroit, which is now East Point, of course. And all the guys from Kid Rock's band used to like hang out at his shop, and Joe would fix their stuff. And when Joe started doing the guitars, those guys were on board. If you look at the cover, that's a Reverend he's holding over his head while he's doing the other hand gesture.
After landing Kid Rock, the guys connected with guitar great Rick Vito, who's played with Bonnie Raitt, John Mayall's Blues Breakers, and Fleetwood Mac, just to name a few. And the Reverend train rolled on.
Rick is a godfather in the music scene. If you don't know, this beautiful red guitar behind me is our Rick Vito signature model. So just having him on the guitars drew a lot of attention from other professional big-name musicians.
Yeah, big names to say the least.
One of our early endorsers was Billy Corgan. Joe ended up making him a couple of custom guitars that he recorded and toured with, and that led us to being able to collaborate with Billy on a full-out signature guitar that Billy and Joe designed together that we sell globally. The killer Reverend Billy Corgan signature model. Yeah, let's just show off. He said after this guitar was launched that we made the guitar that he always wanted to play. And as a guitar manufacturer, what more can you ask for than having an artist, with that kind of prominence say something like that about something that you did?
As Reverend guitars grew and grew, the commute from Detroit to Toledo seemed less and less appealing to my man Ken.
I was living in Toledo. I've been living in Toledo since 2000. I used to be in a band here in Toledo called the Kids from Krypton. We started hiring Toledo guys. So when our lease was up and we needed more space, Penny and I started looking around here. And when we found the building that we're in, the second we saw this building, we were like, oh, this is a no-brainer. This is it.
So Ken and Penny moved the whole operation back to Toledo, Ohio.
So Zach moved down to the Toledo area from Detroit to continue to be our setup guy. He's been with the company for 19 years. We have a shop here where the guys go through every inch of these things to make sure they're ready to go before we treat every single guitar the same, whether it's leaving here and going Billy Corgan or leaving here and going to Jordell's Music on Central Avenue. So we're not, just making clones of guitars that have been around forever. I mean, we're doing an original thing, and we're doing an original thing with original artists, and I think that's what makes it all work.
Drop the mic. We could go on forever. I appreciate it, Ken. Thank you so much, man.
Yeah.
It's great.